Alright, this is a take two. That first one was that something to say the least. I'll leave it there for now, but just here's the updated version. I think a good place to start is just generally talking about the character. Astra is definitely the most diverse playstyle controller in the game. She's the only controller who could smoke anywhere from any spot on every map, no matter how big it is. And she has the most util for just helping out her teammates while also being a rat at the same time. Though lurking does get a little risky because you, as a controller, you need to stay alive. And there's a few reasons like post plant, just generally getting your smokes up, calling your stars back, but we'll get into that later. Astra is a very prediction oriented agent as well. I'd say your goal while playing her is to try and read the enemy team and exploit that as much as possible. And by exploiting that, we have to mainly exploit positioning, and that's kind of where setups come into play. We're going to be using split as the demonstration grounds here because I think this map is where star setups are basically the most apparent, most important, and most powerful. So I'd say almost every decent setup, unless you're confident they're not going the other site, starts with a star on each map. I mean each site entry, like each main doorway. It's the reason why playing Astra on something like Ascent gets kind of it's the reason why playing Astra on something like Haven gets kind of difficult ever since they took away the 5th star. So you can play from a decent amount of areas here. And you want to adjust your setup to where you're playing. But to keep it simple, let's say you're playing CT. This is a very powerful one. A pull right about here. And once you hear the plant start going down, a common thing you can do,
pulling them in.
Just suck that immediately. Or oftentimes you'll even be smoked off as well, and it makes this pull all the more successful.
Pulling them in.
I've gotten 2, 3 many times out of here because they have their teammate planting here. Just throw a plant spot, just future advice. If you can always plant out here, you do that. But even if somebody's planting right there, they'll have a teammate holding CT right here, and now they're both in it. Or sometimes you catch a guy scaling up here and you get 3 in it. It's a very valuable setup. And depending on the playstyle, knowing if they have Reyna, that's your best friend on Astra on defense. The enemy Reyna is everything you want to see. Watch that mini map. Once you see a Reyna eye fly out here,
knocking them.
Give that a second and just do that. And watch how easy your life becomes.
Recovering it.
Okay, so we're gonna go over attack setups now, because this becomes a bit more difficult, but at the same time it's also easier. But the enemies adapt quicker here than they would on offense. Remember, we're trying to figure out where we think they're playing and exploit those positions. It is a common spot. So you smoke off heaven CT like you normally do, or if you're doing it a mid split, you might even have a star up here for argument's sake. But where do you think somebody would be playing? If you're that confident there's gonna be a guy here, place a star around this area.
Without a star,
Concuss is OP. That will hit up there. I would concuss that over suck because sometimes the suck doesn't pull all the way. They'll never make the center of that and they can keep hugging the wall. They can be over here. So this is both a really good suck, and that's also a really good suck. I'd say
taking that back.
a normal setup I'd place within the last 3-4 seconds of the round start phase, and then I'd save one. Saving one is a very good idea, but oftentimes you'll catch this guy in this pull more often because he's going to jiggle for info, and you know when off that.
Got obscuring bit blocking vision.
It makes everyone's life easier because this guy now is stuck here, and he's going to hold this. If he gets flashed, he's done. He's gonna have to hope his teammate swings out and gets all 5, and yeah, that's not happening. And if that does, unlucky. Post plant is very simple. It's very broken, very simple. It's just about how creative you get with the post plant. Don't stay basic, because you pull, they're gonna get back on. or they'll sit in the middle of the suck and wait for you and just take that gunfight, knowing that you're going to be overconfident, thinking because they're in the suck, you guaranteed won that. So try to make use of your concuss. It's underused. Or, for example, go for wall bangs, shots through smokes. Alright, we're going to come to Icebox here to talk about post plant, because I feel like Astra's post plant is very powerful for both sides of this map. Got a lot of good post plant, probably, definitely one of the best in the game, or just the best in the game.
Need that back.
But
Taking that back.
we're gonna talk about a scenario where we'll use the sheriff as a spike. Spike's planted here, or here. These are two very common plant spots. Whatever you do, don't plant back there unless you're trying to lose. But right around here is a very good plant spot. Right there is a very good plant spot. And these are both really good for Astra. Now, obviously they tap. You can pull, go for a swing. If there's more than one alive, this becomes risky. And even if this thing with it suck, you stand in the middle, you're still accurate. So you gotta be careful. Don't get overconfident when swinging. This guy could still one tap you. If you pull right here, sorry, game's lagging out a bit. Same exact scenario. Could be a guy pushed up here, pushed up here. This is a bit better with teammates. But if you're solo, get creative. Right here.
Pulling them in.
Light that guy up. Why not go for your wallbang right now? They might trace you back. If you kill them fast enough, you can move. Just simply move to the side. It's not that hard. Same thing over here. And it's you don't need to ping anything because your star can be exactly where you're aiming. Or if you want, smoke yourself off in an area where there's not like a wallbang. This is a little more risky because it's like I would only go for it in a solo play because you might mess up your teammates if you're doing this with like people around. Spike's planted out here, you got your sage roll probably in a straight line like that. Maybe it's like that, but got spikes out here. If you know they're gonna be swinging you from yellow, that corner, yellow, somebody might be flanking. I don't know how chaotic your situation is. Get in this.
Pulling them in.
Kill that guy and start taking space. This smoke is powerful. Remember, you can take your time and just kill people through your smokes because you know where they're gonna end up if you land your pull. So post plan is pretty straightforward. Try to make use of this concuss. Underrated. When they tap, if it's a 1v1 and you know they're gonna get hit by it, I almost always go for this over pull. Unless you get unlucky and they just one tap you in the head, but Astra does have potential for being a solo lurk character, one of the few controllers who can do that effectively, besides like maybe Omen, and very map dependently like Brim. I guess Viper can as well, but Astra does it better than anyone else. And right now, basically talking about, aside from playing solo, how as a controller she's the best for playing with your teammates. And she can pair well with just about almost any agent in the game. Every duelist can find use out of Astra, every initiator can find use out of Astra, every sentinel, especially like Killjoy or Chamber, can find use out of Astra. The reason why I'd put those two above Sage or Cypher is because if their trips go off, you know when to pull. You could say the same for Cypher, but if Cypher trips go off, you better hope that he kills that guy through the cage, otherwise you have a problematic Cypher. But just as a few examples, we can go over some on Split, for example, where we see people like Chamber or Killjoy often, maybe Ascent, but yeah, the general consensus. I'll just show a few examples. And remember, Astra is a nerd character. There's a reason why you are learning all these random setups and constantly thinking about what the enemy team is going to do. It's not everybody's playstyle.
Concealment!
So say you smoke this off, and you're thinking about the common places, logs, stairs, backside.
Right there.
I'd say Astra and Raze go hand in hand on this map. When you're on entry, I've done this plenty of times. That guy's in the stand stairs.
Recovering it.
You get these smokes up, and you don't place that to scare him. I mean, you don't place that because it's going to scare him off.
Obscuring
Once he's off,
blocking
you get your
vision.
raise, like, hey, raise. Can you get a nade through
Right
that window and hope your raise knows what she's doing? Oftentimes I do. And then you just
Pulling
call
them
that.
in.
That kid stairs, oftentimes dead. And who plays here a lot? Killjoys who want to swing off their mollies on lane. You kill this Killjoy, you didn't even need to clear the swarms lane and waste an aid. You guys could have just put a little bit of util out there and cleared a chunk of the site. And then you just gotta worry about the people playing close. Or backside. But this also gets even crazier when you realize things like on defender side, put a pull here. If you have that Killjoy, her alarm bot is going off. They walk out and get
Pulling them
sucked into these swarms instead, and you're getting one guaranteed. This works both sides. And you gotta realize, like, this is a very communication-based character, because it gets really stupid when you think about the idea that you're going to be doing this, you're going to be able to do this while lurking up A
Right
main,
there.
and all four of your teammates
Obscuring
could be pushing up
blocking
B,
vision.
and all you need to do is wait for them to calm. Yes, that does make it a little difficult in solo queue, but if you have clear comms, if you're playing with a duo, if you're playing in solo queue and you have the right teammates,
Pulling them in.
this becomes free, and you have free reign to go anywhere on the map because your util is always effective for them. Now, just like a few examples, reason why I'd say somebody like Reese is amazing. We've all seen this.
Pulling them in. Right
Pull,
there.
nade, right down main. The attack strat, taking mid. Tether
Right
nade
there.
or pull
Pulling
nade
them
right
in.
there. Just working with your teammates in general. A lot of ways to be really effective with anyone's util on this map. Okay, I'm just gonna go over some like common mistakes I see. The number one is just simply not calling back your stars. Like, no one decides to make use of this. On a rotate, I'll see them just sit their stars down and let them marinate and not call them back to have smokes for the next push. That's a very big mistake commonly made. Second, pre-round setups are very important because you don't want to be placing your stars in the middle of the action. Even on attack, yes, you gotta place them down within those last 3 seconds, just like how you'd place the Viper wall down within those last 3 seconds so they don't guarantee they know where you're going. You don't want them to insta-call, do you? I hope not, but basically just get them down right as you're getting ready to push. And if you're going for a hard rush, then why not just place them down before the start of the round? And on defense, you can place it instantly, because it doesn't matter where they see stars on defense. Astra can be anywhere. They know where the team will be going if you place them on offense, is the difference. And then people just don't change up the playstyles often. This is probably the final one. Astra doesn't have to walk around with her teammates, considering she can use her util from anywhere. Doesn't matter where the star is. As long as you're communicating and just talking with your teammates, you should be able to get the job done. Very communication-based character.